Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome to another FoF video. Today we have a group of wonderful students that are here to share more about their study abroad experiences, specifically looking at the cultural and religious backgrounds in the context of study abroad. Um, Today we have Casita and Haru and Aryan, which are graciously up at 12 a.m. In Japan and willing to talk more about their specific experiences and about themselves. So uh, let's give you the floor. Let's start with Haru. Can you give us a self-introduction and a quick explanation about your background and your study abroad program?
Thank you, Dalia. So as Dalia kindly introduced, my name is Haru. I am half Thai, half Japanese. And I was born and raised in Thailand, and but I came to Japan for high school and then university. So my experiences might be different than other participants here, but uh, I because I was born and raised in Thailand, I had a Buddhist upbringing, particularly a Theravada Buddhist, which is perhaps a kind of minor um, group in Japan. And um, I guess my transition phase from Thailand to Japan was quite gradual because I had that I was always surrounded by Japanese culture from when I was a kid through my dad, who is Japanese. And I so when I came here, my kind of main concerns was more like finding other Thai people or if there were any temples that I could visit in Japan that were more Theravada Buddhist. But because I guess the nature of religion in Japan and Thailand is not that different, being in like different sects of Buddhism. I was able to kind of learn more about the different sects of Buddhism, as well as incorporate those practices into my own, such as meditation and praying in temples and shrines and such. So that's a quick introduction of me.
Thank you. Okay, next we can go to Casita.
Okay, nice to meet you all. My name is Casita. I'm from Indonesia. My cultural background will be my mom is Chinese Indonesian and my dad is Indonesian from the east side of Indonesia. So I'm technically mixed. I'm also a Catholic, which is a very minority group in Indonesia. So I guess that's my background. Thank you.
Thank you. And Aryan.
Oh, um, Hi, my name is Aryan. I'm an American University student with the joint degree program with Fitsumikon, so I'm here in Japan for 2 years, which is cool. Um, and cultural religious background, I'm ethnically Indian. I was raised Hindu. So yeah, that has been interesting to navigate here. But yeah.
Awesome. And I'll give a quick background about myself. My name is Dalia. I was born and raised in Israel, and my mother is American. My father is Russian, and I was also a Sakura scholar uh, and I graduated, I think already half a year ago. So I'm an alumni, and I'm actually a Messianic Jew. So coming here was quite an interesting experience coming to Japan. But we also have Spencer in the audience that is also, and right now he is a Sakura Scholar student. And if he has an opportunity also to speak a little bit today, we'll be very grateful. But yeah, so these are our main speakers today. Thank you for your introduction. So in general, before we talk about the specificities and experiences that you had specifically in Japan, we want to kind of view this topic from a generalized, I am a study abroad student. So it doesn't have to be specifically towards Japan, even though, we all had our experiences in Japan. But before coming here, did you guys have any worries about how you would maintain your religious slash cultural background? Or maybe if it's not you specifically that had these worries, maybe your parents? Or if you were involved in this community, were you worried that you would not be able to be involved anymore? Any kind of like before you went, did you think about this? We can start with Haru.
Yeah, thank you. So just an elaboration on the previous spiel. I my dad is atheist, so he is non-religious. My mom is Theravada Buddhist, and she did have some worries for me in regards to the practices as well as the traditions, and more importantly, the community. Um, because obviously the language is very different, and the because a lot of practices can be involved in community, and it really enhances kind of bonding and your identity. Uh, so I think that was what my parents were initially worried about. It was quite a um, I would say it's not something that's heavily that we have a lot of information in Japan as well. Because when my parents and I looked information about the religion and the communities of Thai people, it doesn't really come up. So that was quite a one major concern, or um kind of that we I had going to Japan initially.
All right, interesting. Thank you. Um, Casita, what about you?
Yeah. So for me, um, I think because me and my parents have experience going to Kyoto specifically, so we have experience going to church in Kyoto too. So from my parents' side, they don't really have any concern about that because we know it exists and I can do it if I want to myself. Um, so the issue is about like I used to go to church every weekend with my parents because I go with my parents. So in Japan, it's like it's like because of me that I need to go there. There's nobody forcing me to. So it's nice that I can find my own um like it's because I want to go to church, then I go to church. I think that's what nice about it. Um, but yeah, so I just find people that will go with me and then I will go with them. So it's fun. And culturally, Indonesian organization is very good with maintaining and knowing their people in the country. So we have in Indonesian Student Association all around the world, and it's very integrated. And we have events every once in a while to meet and also to just like know each other. And then every once in a while, we also have a meeting when someone is leaving the country, like a farewell party too. So I think I never really have a concern about not being able to continue my culture because we have the platform to do so. So I'm okay with everything in general. Thank you.
So you're really open-minded when you went to Japan, but did you know
Oh
about this
yeah.
organization before you went to your study or before you actually went to the study abroad program?
Yes, I'm aware because it's very like famous too in other countries. We also have um like World Indonesian Student Association, so it's basically the head of all the countries around the world. So yeah, it's very easy to find them also.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Um, I mean, I think if I think back about myself, I wasn't concerned, but I was kind of like, I had a really good community in my own where I was going at AU. I had a good community kind of outside of the university, and I was concerned about Japan, but I said, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Gonna calm myself down. But what about you, Aryan?
Um, I think culturally it was not that big of a jump. Religiously, like because I'm Hindu, like Buddhist temples are also kind of okay. So if I want to go, like I'll go there. The main issue for me was the food. Religiously, I'm a vegetarian, so it is rough. It continues to be rough, but especially because Japan, fish and all that. Um, and labeling is not super clear here sometimes, but it's not horrible. Like, I normally cook for myself, so it was not that huge of a lifestyle change for me. Okay, like if I have to go out to like a meeting or something and they want to get food afterwards, then I'm kind of whatever. I have to eat a salad, it's fine. But um outside of that, it's not the hugest deal. I think personally, I was not super concerned because the whole point of me going abroad was to not stick with my community. Not that that's a bad thing, but for me personally, I was like, I need to meet new people. So that I was never like super prioritizing, finding other Indian people in Japan. It's nice, like I have just out of on the street or in a restaurant or something, and I've made connections, but it was never that much of a priority. But yeah, it's been pretty manageable, I would say.
Okay. Haru and Casita, are there any like specific customs slash um activities that you do for your religion that or for your cultural background that you kind of as you moved to Japan you started to realize it's harder or it's harder to do or actually it's really easy and accessible and there isn't much problem
All
either.
right, maybe I can start first. Um, One of the challenging things was more, um, as I said, about community. Um, because in Thailand we have a lot of festivals that revolves around the religion and even the historical upbringings of Thailand, stuff that we do celebrate, which Japan has really kind of set holidays um, for the countries and working as well as school. But because that doesn't align with not only my culture, but perhaps other cultures as well, it's a bit difficult to find time to celebrate it or to gather around in a group of people. Another one thing that I would say is that is quite relatively easy for me to do is to pray or to meditate um because due to the same roots of Buddhism and perhaps even to a different less extent Shintoism, um it I find myself quite uh like easy to pray or to go to temples and relate as well as understand the um kind of the practices, the cultural and the religious kind of things here compared to Thailand as well. So I wouldn't say it's really difficult, but I do feel a sense of kind of I'm forgetting the English word, the sense of like iwakan, kind of like bit of a different feeling, I have to say. Yeah.
So you're kind of it's uncomfortable or maybe kind of um I also know that zannen I can't think of an English word. It's kind of uh sad slash
Mhm.
help me out. Yeah?
It's a shame.
A
It's
shame or kind of like Iwakan is kind of like
strange inside.
yeah, that's
Yes, I
Right.
don't. how to translate that honestly.
Conflicted.
I
Yeah.
I have to premise out that I in my high school times I was in a town called Sendai in a northern part of Japan, and there was a lot less foreign population than Kyoto and the Kansai region. So it was quite difficult to find Thai people for the matter of fact. But coming to Kyoto, it's a lot easier to find people from Southeast Asia and also from Thailand. So it makes it a lot easier. The bigger city you're in, I would say.
Oh, that's a really good point. So that if you go to a study abroad exchange in a bigger city, you can expect to find more resources and obviously more internationals that might have the same background as you do compared to if you go to a more rural area, right? You are encountering only locals, so might not have or find people that have the same background slash customs that you do. So that could be stressful. Good job in Sendai. Casita, do you have anything to add?
I think I agree with the Kyoto situation. Kyoto is a very touristy city too, so you meet a lot of like tourists every day, and the local is very like used to it kind of too with foreigners. So they're not like surprised that there's a foreigners. So that's I think the nicest like one of the nicest things staying in like a big city. Um, but my issue will be like because my first language isn't English or Japanese, so it's kind of hard when I want to like communicate with people and I'm like, what's the word or something like that, or I will go to mass and it will be in English, but I'm not used to it, so I cannot really follow what's going on. Or in Japanese, it will be worse. So, but thankfully though, there's some like Indonesian mass every once a month, but unfortunately, most of the time I cannot make it to the time that they have. So I haven't been to the Indonesian mass, um, but it's there for me. I have the option to do it. But yeah, that's probably one of the difficulties for me, religions wise. Yeah.
No, I get it. And also I remember for the congregation that I found in Japan, they did bilingual English and Japanese. So while I was expecting, in America, I would go for maybe 2 hours and it'll be done, and then I'll come back home. And and the one in Tokyo, it took like half a day because they were translating
Oh
everything,
no.
and it's bilingual, and his songs, everything is bilingual. So, it takes more time. Um, as well as like I don't know. I know that some people here have lived together with me in the dorm, but I would go from Kyoto all the way to Tokyo at the night bus in order to go to my congregation, maybe twice a month. So I think I would take the night bus 10 hours there, and then I'd come back the same weekend and then do my classes. So that was a struggle to find kind of maybe they had and they did have a congregation that was in Kyoto, but I preferred and liked the one that was in Tokyo. So I would go out of my way to go there. But you can kind of like to have the pick and choose is really nice. And sometimes you don't have that option as well. And then if you do not like or you don't feel like it's a fit to you in that community, in that area, then it might really affect the way that you can keep or maintain what it is that you want to. So that's a good point. Thank you. Also about the holidays, I don't know about you guys, but like how do like you mentioned, they don't fit with the holidays. I would take days off from school on days that were my holidays that I wanted to celebrate because for me it's a must. So I felt like as a student I was very blessed or lucky to be able to do that. So I think in Ritsumeikan you can have like 2/3 absence and it will be fine, right? And then you would still be able to get a
Mm,
passing slash good grade. So I would use that and I would take my days off and go and celebrate the holidays that I wanted to and then come back. Did you guys do that too? Or kind of like,
I think for me, My biggest shock is in Indonesia, it's a very like we have six official like religion and stuff. It's very like diverse. So we celebrate every holiday of every different religion, and will be a like will be a holiday day. It's like it will you don't go to school and stuff. But in Japan, it's not like that. So my shock was like Christmas Day, and we still have a class at that time. And I was like, oh my God. It was COVID at the time. So I was on my laptop during a family gathering. So I was like, what am I doing here? But thankfully, the year after that, like Christmas always like it's a winter break time. So it's nice. But yeah, most after that, because I don't really have class during like I usually pick classes not on Friday or like something not on Monday. So I will have a longer weekend. So that's not what nice about Rizzo weekends because you can pick your classes whatever you want. So
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm so sorry you had to take your class to mass. Maybe you could have turned on the mic and everybody would have learned something.
that's
But yeah, so Ariane, what about you? Did you have like a holiday that you kind of have to go and I can't?
I mean, I in the US also, like we don't get the Hindu holidays off, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of it's unfortunate though, but I did I think last year, not this year because this year it was in the middle of exam, so I really couldn't do anything, but last year I took one day off for Diwali just because I felt like it and I called my mom and she went to the temple and she went on FaceTime and she was like showing me all the stuff and that was nice. Um, so I haven't been able to find like a Hindu temple here. I think they're all in Tokyo and they're like very sect specific.
Mhm.
Um, not for me, but um, it was fine. I mean, I went to the Buddhist temple and that was cool and I made food and stuff. So for me, it was I'm used to it, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's still kind of like um, but it's yeah, it's nice that Itsume allows you to take the day off. I mean, they don't really allow you, but you have leeway to kind of plan. If you plan it properly, you can do that. I think it's possible. With a lot of the language schools here, I know that the attendance is like 95% plus or something. So like you really, really cannot skip. So I know that that is a problem for some people. Um, so I'm glad that Itsume allows like, I won't my visa won't get taken away if I go, do something for a day.
Yeah, there's some programs that don't have that leeway for students to go ahead and take the days off, especially that the reason why they give you the holidays or the days off is because if you're sick, right? So health-wise, you're supposed to be using those days if you don't feel good or you need to go to the doctor or if you get special permission from the doctor, but they're not usually meant for, personal holiday, personal custom keeping purposes. So I see that they might have that kind of thing, but Haru, do you have anything like to add to share?
Pretty much same as Aryan. Like, um, I remember sometimes during the festival seasons, I would FaceTime my mom as well, and she would show me um kind of what's going on over there in my home country. And um sometimes she would tell me to go to any Japanese temple and pray. Um, because fortunately it does um kind of overlap a bit. So um didn't find it too challenging or and because Kyoto specifically for Ritsumeikan, there's so many temples in Kyoto. Um so I could just walk 5 minutes away from campus and find myself to a closest temple to pray in um during a festival. It might not be kind of 100% like a Theravada Buddhist temple, similar to Aryan. Those ones would be more in Tokyo. but does get the job done, I think, and do get by with relatively not, not many problems, I guess. Yeah.
I'm glad. What about, I mean, I think when Aryan mentioned it about diet restrictions and things like that, did you guys have any problems with that? Do you have any diet restrictions something you do not eat or like kind of rules that you keep?
In my case, we didn't have any dietary restrictions in terms of religious. So that was not really a problem for me. Um, yeah, that's all on my part.
Asita, did you have any like diet um kind of things you wouldn't eat or
I don't have any diet restriction because I eat pork. I eat all the things available, so I'm good.
that's pretty nice. There
I
was
just miss my food though, Indonesian food.
no, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
just
I
the
can't.
seasoning is lacking here, so
Is it for
yeah.
me that it was hard with the seasoning sometimes? Like you kind of want a
Mhm.
spice and then it will never come out. Like they never have like a
Yeah.
food that had a
Or it's
spice.
very expensive.
Oh.
Mm. But yeah, but it's not like I cannot eat. Just missing home because of the food.
Did you bring anything with you to Japan when you came from Indonesia? Like,
Oh yeah, I bring like a lot of like chili sauces and stuff. And then my mom came like during holiday and she will bring me stuff too. So I'm good with food.
did your parents come like often to visit you and then they could like bring stuff with them and catch up?
Um, no. They will come every like year, just of like a holiday for them too. And then
Mhm.
the last time they came is on my graduation day from Ritsumikan. Yeah, and that's it.
I see. Well, I feel for you because I actually talked to my friend yesterday and she was telling me about um her friend that is from Uzbekistan and she was Muslim. And she had a problem when she came to Japan because she learned that they use mirin in almost every soup, right? So udon, soba, all these have mirin, which is a type of alcohol, right? But it's cooking alcohol, but it is an alcohol nonetheless. So she cannot eat any of those as well. So to think that, you can't, eat certain foods and then you cannot eat foods that you wouldn't imagine would have these ingredients in them, and then you cannot really know unless you specifically ask, and then you would have a hard time asking if you do not know the language. That's kind of unfortunate. And sometimes it might affect your health, which I have another video that we did about healthcare and mental health as well. And in those times, we were talking also about how important like a good diet is. And when you want to and you need to keep the customs of your culture slash religion, then you might also get affected in the diet wise and then in your health wise and in your studies. So I think there's a lot of things that you might not think about before you come to a study abroad program in case you would like to maintain your own cultural and religious background. And then when you get there, you have to learn and adjust and see what it is that can be done. Do you guys have any advice or maybe like notes that you would give to other study abroad students if they are watching this or if they watch it later? Like, what would you advise to them if you had the opportunity just now?
I can start. I guess one of the challenge that I didn't really get much to chance to talk about this time um was trying to balance between kind of being immersed in Japanese culture and Japanese, like learning the language as quickly as possible by being with Japanese people. And on the other hand, being with my Thai community and getting to practice the kind of cultural and religious uh, practices that I used to do in back in my home country. And I guess one advice, if I could um, say, is that it's really important to balance the two, where um, understandingly, when you first go to a new country, doesn't really have to be Japan, but in this case, Japan, um, being very different in terms of language than other countries. Um, there's a big barrier between um, kind of what you learned in a textbook and what the culture actually is in real life.
Mm.
Um, so in that case, like it is a good thing to try to be as kind of following that norms as much as possible, but at the same time, like um it's it's also really important to not forget um kind of your cultural upbringings and practice that not only for yourself but only for the Japanese people to further understand, because Japan is such a, I would say it's very what do you call it, like homogenous
Yeah.
country. So sometimes it's not their discrimination towards a certain religion or a certain identity, but it's just out of ignorance. They don't really have any um, examples or anything to see. So I think it's really important as well to to be able to proudly practice it in a new country where for both people, for both sides, I guess.
That's a really good point. I got offended many times personally. And it was just me being offended, by, things that I've heard or I've that's been said to me. But it's a good point that, it's not always that people understand your religion, especially if you go to, or culture background. If you go to a country that is demographically um like there's a lot of the same people or homogenous, as you said, or that just even if they're not homogenous, they might just not have any connection to the religion that you come from. So it won't be as common or popular. So understanding that is really important, that sometimes it's not discrimination. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's not, it's really out of ignorance or and just they don't know. So that's how it happens. I had a friend that came once and told me about his experiences, and basically to me it sounded like discrimination. And then, but he was so chill about it. He was like, "Oh no, it's okay. I mean, there's people. We all people anyway. We've all done mistakes, and there's times where you need to address it, and then there's times where you can understand the context and know when to react well. And uh, in addition, I thought maybe, sometimes because you do not know how to differentiate the two, it might cause you stress and you will focus on it, maybe instead of focusing on other things that happen in the study abroad program. So, you know, it might change the way that you view the country or you view the people in it, or it might affect the way that the time that you spend in the study abroad program. So that's a really good point. Thank you. Aryan, what about you?
I don't know if I have that much advice. I mean, I guess my thing is like figure out if you want to be somebody who really prioritizes being with your community, or if you want to like, have your community there. I'm not saying don't like go it alone, you know what I mean? But for me personally, I was kind of okay with not having like a huge Indian community because like, I call my family pretty often and we're kind of, if it's within that circle, then I'm not, the power of technology exists. Like I can call them whenever I want, and I'm not super like driven to find a community here necessarily because I have one at home that I can access quite easily. Um, but even even then, like if community is important to you, I think you need to have the drive to like go and find it, even if it's in places where you don't think you're gonna find it. Like I've interestingly enough, here at a lot of the Indian restaurants, they have a lot of community events that they have like flyers for and um like I think Haru and I were originally supposed to go to one of these. Like they had a dance show in Osaka that I found at a South Indian restaurant in Kyoto, just like they were handing out flyers and they just had them on the side of the table and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll take one." And then that was cool. And so I think if you want to find a community, like you can just go talk to people like in the street. Even if you like go to a restaurant of your home country, a lot of obviously maybe the owner is of that from that place, and so you can strike up a conversation. And I think it's good to be open to finding community in places where you don't think that's going to happen necessarily. um because like if I wanted to go to a temple, I would Google what a temple was. I wouldn't go to an Indian restaurant to then find a place to maybe go to a temple or go to somebody's house to find maybe um some other community center, right? That's not very straightforward, but it's possible. So open your mind to being able to find it like in places that you don't think as easy as a Google search. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. And finding a community that if you go to study abroad program, you usually would be like, I want to give it all to the program, so I will focus on the community like in the university, but and then you can look outside of it, right, into the community that's not like not a student organization or not a student, like there's just organizations in general that would be open to anybody that would like to take part. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Casita?
Mm, I agree with what everybody is saying.
Mm.
Me personally, I would love to have a community. That's why I think I will advise someone to like be curious and like always search for what you feel like you need. Like I feel lonely if I don't have my community or like a friend that really knows my culture. Because it's very easy to get very like feels like you're alone in the country. So having someone that understands your culture and stuff will be nice. I also think um language, like you need to be curious about the language because it will help you a lot to know a lot about it. Like I learned it myself what with not knowing the language very much at the very first, and then it's hard for me to like go to the ward office or just to the bank or stuff like that. Like I always need someone to go with me, which is such a hassle if you don't have anybody to go with you.
Mm.
So I think that's the two advice I think uh, people need to think about before coming to Japan or any country that doesn't speak like your first language. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you. That's a good point. And I kind of miss speaking in Hebrew. Just in general. I'm just like, ah, I need to I need to practice and every time I speak Hebrew now it hurts here because we're a third language. So having someone with the same culture and the same religious background is really helpful. It was really helpful to me as well while I was in Japan in a place where it's completely different from I think in Buddhist it's very it I feel as you said in the this time it was kind of, there's some points connecting like some points that are similar but for my religion it was completely different and I kind of doubted what should I do about bowing my head like that was how much I was debating what I should do and what I should not do personally. So to me, to bow is something that's it's very specific. It's not something that you do to people. So that's why I was, oh no, when people bow, like, should I bow too? And is it okay? And what are the... So I had to ask myself a lot of questions when I came, but it was also a really good experience to know, to also challenge what it is that I believe in, right? And see, rethink, my values. So I had a really interesting and fun experience while I was doing my study abroad program. I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for you three for sharing all your experiences with us and later whoever watches this video. I hope you guys had something that you learned or maybe something that you didn't know before and maybe some kind of concern that you had. I hope we addressed it here, and I hope that maybe this will encourage you to do more research on study abroad or to encourage you to be a little bit less stressed about your study abroad location. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in a different video. Bye. Thank you so much, Kasida, Aryan, and Halu for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.